Om Namah Shivaya. This is Arsonist Fire. I'm here on the way of Dharma. Today we'll be discussing a very interesting topic. Before we continue, I'd like to welcome all new members. I'd like to welcome all those that have subscribed, and I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. The Way of Dharma is a channel where we discuss the literature of Dharma, spirituality, Western magical concepts, African spirituality. We'll be sharing mantras, sadhanas, and everything that will be helpful for the spiritual aspirant. Now, before we continue, please like, share, and subscribe the videos of the Way of Dharma. Today we'll be discussing a very interesting subject from one of the gallery of magic books, basically. Today we'll be discussing Demons of Magic by Gordon Winterfield. Now, before we go into the book by Gordon Winterfield, let us go in depth about the demons of magic. Okay, what are the demons of magic? In the case of the book of Gordon Winterfield, he wrote about the 72 demons of the Goetia or the Goetia. It is said that we have 72 demons or 72 aspects and personalities or 72 chakras in our pineal gland. Each chakra has a different personality. Like you would have different personalities of the zodiac, it is said that as you go deeper into the pineal gland, you have 72 demons, basically. Aspects. Okay, that's another subject on its own. But I find that when you interact or work with certain demons, you get to activate certain latent, dormant characteristics of yourself, basically. We have everything in our DNA from our ancestors from time immemorial, from the beginning of the earth, from previous universes, and many lifetimes ago. So as you go and tap into these aspects of yourself, these 72 aspects of yourself, you get to activate those latent forces within your mind, basically. So in some books, like the Megathon of Aleister Crowley, the 72 demons of the Goetia, you have very complicated descriptions, and you have a very complicated, elaborate ritual for summoning these entities. Now, summoning these entities, what can they do? Basically, in those 72 aspects of your personality or 72 demons, each and every demon rules a certain area of your life. It has sexual demons, you have demons for arts and the liberal sciences, you have demons for everything, basically. You can imagine that would be helpful for human life and advancement, basically. So in the book of Aleister Crowley, you have a very elaborate ritual for summoning these 72 demons, and as a very what can I say, a very grotesque way of describing these 72 demons and their aspect. So in the 72 demons of the Goetia by Aleister Crowley, some of the demons are actually said to be dangerous, and you shouldn't go closer to them because of the manipulation that might result as close contact from them. And also it is said that some fumes that they emit when speaking to these demons, they can sicken you, basically, and leave you vulnerable, basically. So in this book, Demons of Magic by Gordon Winterfield, it is a simplified way to actually go into the ritual of summoning demons. It strips away the tools and the miscellaneous that would be used to actually do the summoning ritual. I think there's 3 forms of actually tasking the demons to to do your bidding, basically. It is a very, very good book in terms of explaining the demons and their characteristics. It doesn't go into the image of the demons and how they will appear as described in the books by Aleister Crowley. It only gives you certain evocation keys to visualize and imagine, to conjure that energy of that spirit in your presence, basically. For the first ritual, it's a very, very easy way of tasking the demon. I think you do what? What do you do? You sort of like take the sigil, and then you then put it on the intent, and then it will know what you are trying to command. It's a very short ritual, which is very, very stupid for me when I look behind in hindsight. The description of the demons is very perfecto when it comes to the descriptions and the theory, but when it comes to practice, I find that it's very, very useless. Why do I say it's useless? There's a certain writing that you find in the book which is used to write your intent, your statement of intent, basically. You write it in code, and then after writing it in code, you have to forget. I think you have to forget, and then you have to at least write in code, and then come back after 1 hour after writing that intent, and then you get to perform your ritual. You can't write an intent and then perform it right away. I forgot, maybe it's even more days, basically. Sometimes you can choose to do your ritual after more days of writing the intent, depending on forgetting the real statement, what it says. It should be written in a code, which is very, very boring, and I find it to be off-putting, basically. And then you have the third way of tasking the spirit, which is the evocation. There you evoke the spirit into your presence, and then after doing it, it gives you communication between that spirit so that you can have a conversation, basically, with that spirit. The previous 2 methods are for sending your intent to the spirit and tasking it to do what you want. I find the methods in the book Demons of Magick to be very, 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 very useless. And they prove to be, they don't work, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. They don't work for me, basically. They didn't work. And if you can look into my channel, The Way of Dharma, you can see that most of the content actually comes from Practice of Gallery of Magick books. But in this case, this book is pure rubbish. It's pure rubbish, and it's very, very useless. There's a ritual whereby you have to look into a certain circle, a black circle, and then after looking into that circle, you imagine a few things, and then you breathe. It's a very, very long process of performing evocation for summoning the spirits of the Goetia. There's very, very easier methods of doing that, and they can save you a lot of time and a lot of stress. I think I did 2 rituals. No, I did 1 ritual, basically, from that book, and then I didn't get any satisfactory results. As with the spirits from the Western magic practice, I don't get satisfactory results. I do get some results with books like the Magical Cash book. I do get some results with the Angels of Alchemy, but I find that you have to do it continuously to actually maintain that that energy to make sure it stays in your life basically, which is very very tiring, because the results might last for a few days, for like 3 days, whereas with a mantra it can last from 1 month to 3 months, depending on my sadhana, my practice. It can be 40 days of practice that would last me for at least a month, and then doing it for 3 months, then it would last me for a while basically. And it's very very convenient, as opposed to this book that I just come across, the Demons of Magic by Gordon Winterfield. I find Gordon Winterfield's books to be very very boring. It's very very long. When you read it, it's very long, and then by the time you get to practice, you would have read very very boring things. And I would prefer to actually have a shorter version of the book that gets straight to the point, and it doesn't go around the bush telling you this, telling you that, and all kind of boring things, man. You understand? So in terms of the theory about the demons, it's a very 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 good introduction, but the practice, I kid you not, it is rubbish. You'd be wasting your time. I've had some other books where you can actually go into the ritual and then you get results. That's what we want basically. When we go into such books, we are attracted by the power that they possess, and then we are excited to go into practice. But then the practice, it is not convenient for that fast moving, fast paced, fast results oriented practice. You understand? Yes. And I find it useless, because I've once summoned spirits of the Goetia easily. There's a book by, who's that guy? Kuriakos or whatever. Is it Kuriakos or Krukos? Something. Yes. There's a guy, Kuriakos. And then it's a book basically. It teaches you a summoning ritual. And then it doesn't teach you, man. It shows you a ritual format to go about summoning spirits basically, and then it gives you the sigils of the Goetia. It doesn't talk anything more. It just describes the spirit office, and that's it. You see the sigil, you do the ritual process, and then you do it, and then you're done. It doesn't even take 5 minutes to complete the ritual, which is something that I see is very important in that book basically, because when you go into Demons of Magic, going through such a long elaborate process of performing a ritual or tasking a spirit, you'd expect to be overwhelmed by the results due to the energy that you put into the work, and then the results come back sluggish and foolish, and then you are underwhelmed. So now you've performed something that was useless basically. So that's why I don't recommend this book at all. And then shorter books will actually show you that there's nothing to be glamorized about actually summoning these Goetic demons or any other spirit for that matter. It should be something that you can do even when you don't have your tools and artillery and your miscellaneous. It's something that should be convenient, and you should be used to it basically, so that you are not underwhelmed by the results that you will get from performing a long elaborate ritual. There's parts whereby you have to imagine hearing sounds whereby people are stepping on footsteps on the ground, basically on the sand, like those sound, the crackling of leaves, all the stupid things, the evocation keys, which is something I don't like about these gallery of magic books. And then there's a very very special way they did for creating sigils, basically. Some occult practitioners say that the way, I don't like that way, basically. I don't like that way, but there's certain magical practitioners. You see, man, these people are disturbing my things now. They're disturbing my things. There's certain what was I saying? Yes, there's certain magical practitioners that would say that the way the gallery of magic creates sigils is there to actually balance out the energy by summoning these other spirits, and then making sure that those divine names are making sure that those demons won't hurt you. Maybe they do hurt some European people, but I don't see anything that could harm me as far as summoning those low spirits. Even some of the magical practitioners even said it in some other collaboration video that the legions of these Goetic spirits are actually the ancestors of, they are comprised of some of the ancestors that actually died on the slave ships to Europe and America, basically. And then it is also the legends are also comprised of the ancestors from way back, and we also talk about it in our collaboration with Efe, whereby he says that some of the spirits that were fleeing away from the dark forest were actually freed, and then they got a chance to roam about in the world, basically. So part of these legends are actually those spirits of the ancestors. Also, it can comprise of those Brahma Rakshasas, those ancient guys who used to practice sorcery, who were of a low mind, because when you have a practitioner of a low mind that thinks that they can do anything to anyone anytime, with whichever way they like, they are basically having a limited perception. They don't know anything about ascension, elevation, and enlightenment and liberation. They basically focusing on the things of the flesh, basically the physical things. So they use magic to gain physical means, and after using magic to gain physical means, they actually get addicted to that stuff. After getting addicted to that stuff, their karma, their low level vibrating mind binds them to the earthly realm to actually live longer than the average human being. You even find some Brahma Rakshasa people are getting very, very ill, and they can't die because they have to pass on that wicked or foolishness that they did to somebody to inherit it, and then they can then pass on. It is something very popular in the African culture that there's occult practitioners, or rather traditional healers or witches and wizards, that have black magic power, and they use it for evil purposes, malicious purposes, and they, when it comes to the time of death, they can't die because they have so many pacts with the snake that I was telling you about, the elementals, the fires of the elements, and not the fires, man, the spirits of the elements and whatever. So they get to become Brahma Rakshasa. So being a soul which is trapped in someone else's pact, or rather a low vibrating spirit's pact, you have to reincarnate continuously, and you basically roam about in the astral realm. So part of the legends that work for these 72 demon kings are actually these low level vibrating spirits. So now it goes back to the point whereby those divine names are written there. If you don't have commanding power, as like the European guy, because you have to have a certain frequency in you. In the case of the native groups of the world, this frequency is this melanin, this carbon power that actually automatically brings us closer to celestial beings, thereby repelling evil and low vibrating spirits automatically. It is said in the Sanatana Dharma that in the Sanatana Dharma categorization that you have demons which are asuras. These guys are classified as tamasic, and then you have these other spirits. I think it's spirits. No, is it devas? Yes, I think it's devas and devatas. They are classified as rajasic, and then there's sattvic, which is who? The human being. They describe the human as sattvic. So in terms of the three gunas, the highest vibrating guna would be sattva, and then rajas, and then tamasic. Tamasic would be the last level. So asuras and demons are classified under the guna of the tamas. So when you have melanin, when you are the native groups of the earth, you are automatically vibrating on a sattvic level because you have that divinity in you. So it's highly unlikely that these low level spirits can actually run game on you. So I understand why these guys are actually doing these divine names and doing these sigils to try and control the energy of those unruly spirits, because some of the practitioners of the occult are actually these spirits that have come to reincarnate in another form, which is a lowest form on earth. Basically, it would be the what? You guessed that. I don't mean it in a very, very tribalistic or racist way, or yes, I don't mean it in that way. I'm just stating facts, and I'm not pushing the narrative that there's some groups of people who should be treated as lower. No, I'm just stating facts according to the way they are. So they comprised of a way to actually put sigils and put divine words of power to channel and make sure that they can control this unruly energy of these asuras, basically. So that's it's effective in that way. But the practical side of the book and other things, the sigil itself, I don't like the way it is. Basically, it's hard to focus on the sigil because of these other colors that are supposed to go into your mind. The Hebraic words are also, it's just too elaborate, and it has too much going on. So the book that I would recommend for anyone from the Gallery of Magic is a book by Adam Blackthorne, The Masterworks of Chaos Magic. That book is the best book you can ever get from the Gallery of Magic. You get that book, you see a very easy, simple ritual format that can be used to summon and petition any spirit, as long you have the sigil of that spirit. You have an easy way to draw a sigil, and then you easily summon a spirit just like that. So you can take that book, Masterworks of Chaos, you take the sigils from the 72 demons of the Goetia, either from the demons of magic or from the internet or any other occult book that you might come across, and then you focus on the sigil only, and then you summon a spirit according to that ritual you got from the Masterworks of Chaos. As for the book Demons of Magic, I'm repeating it last time, the practical side of it, it's really useless. Some of the theory in it, it's useless. There's a lot of tautology and repetition of the same thing going going around in circles from the earliest pages to the last pages of the theory part of the book. I find it very, very useless. You'd have to sympathize with me. You'd have to go and read the book. Nah, don't go and read the book. You'd be wasting your money, man. Take a Kindle and then you get to see what I'm talking about, basically. So this is Arsonist Fire. I'm here on the way of Dharma. May peace be unto you. May peace reign and rule over you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.